Hi, I'm Chef Pete, and today I'm here in Harris Teeter's kitchen. I'm going to prepare for you a grilled sirloin steak with a blue cheese walnut butter. We're going to put a little topical rub that we're going to put together, almost like a paste on here. And we're going to start off with that by using a food processor. You can actually do this by hand if you want, but the food processor definitely makes it a lot easier. Put a few garlic cloves in. We've got some thyme, or excuse me, rosemary, fresh rosemary. We're going to save just a little bit of it back. Some black pepper. And then some kosher salt. And this is going to end up just turning into a little bit of a paste that we're going to spread on the steak. Now we're going to take this paste and we're going to spread it all around the meat. We're going to want to let this sit on there for anywhere from an hour to maybe 3-4 hours. If it's only going to be for an hour that you're going to let it sit on there, you can let this sit out at room temperature. Just cover it. If you're going to let it sit out any longer than that, or sit on there any longer, you're going to want to actually put it in the refrigerator. So we're going to grill this inside today, but you can definitely follow all these same steps and grill outside on your grill. So you can actually put this in a resealable bag or in a plastic container. Just cover it real well and stick it in the refrigerator. But I have one that I already did earlier. So this has been sitting on there for about 3 hours. All right, it's got a good coating. Flavors are really penetrating that meat. I'll take this steak. Oh yeah. You want to hear that sizzle when it goes on. If you don't hear that sizzle, then it's definitely not hot enough. So this is a pretty big piece of meat. It's going to take probably about 16 minutes, I'm guessing around there, for a good medium rare. So that's about 8 minutes per side. After about 4 or 5 minutes, we're going to turn it, give it some nice grill marks. And then a few more minutes later, we'll flip it over and finish cooking that. So while that's cooking, I'm going to put together the walnut and blue cheese butter. I'm going to have some room temperature butter here. Let it sit out for about an hour. And we're going to put that in a bowl. Then we have some chopped parsley. Use the Italian parsley. The curly parsley, maybe it might look nice, but it really doesn't have a lot of flavor. And the texture of it, it's really tough. So look for flat leaf or Italian parsley when you're buying parsley for a recipe. Much better. So that's going to go in. The rest of the rosemary. And the blue cheese. Lots of blue cheese. There's a lot of fat there, so that's going to make up for just a smaller amount of butter that we have. So I'm just going to put on a pair of gloves and work this together with my hands. You just make sure that that butter is sitting out at room temperature. Same thing with the cheese. Let that sit out a little bit. Much goes together much easier. So what we call this is a compound butter. There's so many different varieties of compound butters, and I'm sure that you could dream up your own. And it's just a great way to carry flavor to a steak. So you can take this butter. Oh, forgot the last part. The walnuts. Can't call it blue cheese walnut butter without those walnuts, right? So mix that in. And then we're going to place it right into the center here. And I like to roll it up into a log personally, because then later on you can just cut little pieces off and stick it onto the steak. Again, rewrap it and stick it back in the freezer. So what I like to do here is you fold it over, and then you can push back with your hand. I'll turn this to the side. I don't know if you can see how it spreads itself out into this log. All right. That doesn't have to be perfect. Then you can take that and roll it up, and then clip off your ends, and then wrap this in some saran wrap, stick it in that refrigerator, let it firm up, or in the freezer, and then you can actually slice it. And you slice right through that paper, pull the paper off, and you'll have little discs that you could just finish the steak off with. Okay, now we've had the steak on here probably about 14-15 minutes. Now it's time for it to come off. cooked to a good medium rare medium. Shut the grill off. So now we're going to let this rest. One of the most important parts of grilling is letting that meat rest. So the key here is big piece like this, probably go about 10 minutes to rest it before we slice it. Okay, now that we've let the steak rest about 10 minutes, it's time to slice it. Now earlier on I talked about how there's different muscles in this piece of meat here. Right? And the grains are going to run in different directions, but if you slice this thin enough and take an attack from one end to the other, again, smaller, or you can actually pull it apart into different muscles and slice it, you're going to be fine, because this grain on this piece of meat is not too thick, so it's not really going to eat that tough, even if you cut a little bit with the grain. So my suggestion, again, is fairly thin, and even on a little slight bias there. Give you a beautiful tasting piece of meat. It's going to eat nice and tender. And wow, it smells really good. So once this meat is laid out, we're going to finish it off with some of the blue cheese butter. And you're going to want to put that on right away. This has been sitting out. And it's going to slowly melt onto here. And it almost turns into a sauce. I'm Chef Pete here in Harris Teeter's kitchen. This is a grilled sirloin steak with a blue cheese walnut butter. Enjoy.